All right, listen. What if I told you ancient Rome almost had a woman pulling the strings of the entire empire? Not a queen, not an empress, not officially. But make no mistake, she was this close to ruling Rome. And the wild part? Most people have never even heard her name. So let me tell you the story of the woman who nearly ruled the most powerful empire on earth. Agrippina the Younger. Yeah, that Agrippina. And trust me, this isn't some dusty history lesson. This is ambition, scandal, power, betrayal, and one of the most dangerous family trees ever created. Because in Rome, power didn't just sit on a throne. It lived in whispers, in marriages, in bloodlines. And Agrippina, she mastered all of it. She was born into the Julio-Claudian dynasty, basically Rome's royal family before royalty was even a thing. Her father was Germanicus, one of Rome's most beloved generals. Her brother? Caligula. Yes, that Caligula, the emperor who thought he was a god and made Rome a nightmare. So Agrippina grows up surrounded by power and surrounded by madness. And from the very beginning, she understands something most men in Rome refused to admit. A woman may not wear the crown, but she can absolutely control the person who does. Now, Rome was not kind to ambitious women. If you were powerful, they called you dangerous. If you were smart, they called you manipulative. If you wanted influence, they called you a monster. Agrippina didn't care, because she wasn't trying to survive Rome. She was trying to conquer it. But first, she had to survive her own family. When Caligula becomes emperor, Agrippina is right there in the palace. And for a moment, it looks like she's winning, until Caligula accuses her of conspiracy. Just like that, she's exiled, banished, stripped of everything. And most people would have disappeared into history right there. But not Agrippina, because Rome had no idea what she was about to become. A few years later, Caligula is assassinated. Rome breathes again, and her uncle, Claudius, becomes emperor. Now, Claudius was underestimated. People thought he was weak, a stuttering scholar who didn't belong on the throne, but he held the empire together. And Agrippina? She saw opportunity. She returns to Rome, and slowly, quietly, she begins to climb again. But she doesn't do it with armies, she does it with strategy. Because in Rome, the battlefield wasn't always a war zone. Sometimes it was a dinner table. Agrippina knew exactly what she needed, a direct line to the throne. And then, her husband dies. Conveniently. Suddenly, she's a widow. And Rome is watching, because Agrippina makes a move so shocking, people almost couldn't believe it. She marries Claudius, her uncle. Yeah, Rome was weird like that. But this wasn't romance. This was a takeover. Agrippina becomes empress in all but name, and Claudius, he is completely under her influence. Now, here's where things get really serious. Agrippina already has a son from her previous marriage, a boy named Lucius Domitius. You know him by the name history gave him later, Nero. And Agrippina looks at her son and sees a throne. So she does what no woman had ever done so openly before. She positions herself as the power behind Rome's future emperor. She convinces Claudius to adopt Nero. That alone is massive, because Claudius already has a biological son, Britannicus, the rightful heir. But Agrippina doesn't just want Nero in the palace, she wants Nero on the throne, and she wants it fast. She arranges Nero's marriage to Claudius's daughter. She builds alliances with senators. She removes enemies one by one. And then she does something absolutely unheard of. Her image appears on coins alongside the emperor, not behind him, beside him, equal. Romans had never seen that. Agrippina wasn't hiding her ambition anymore. She was standing in the center of imperial power, and daring anyone to challenge her. At this point, she's basically co-ruling. Foreign leaders address her directly, generals respect her authority, the Senate fears her presence. Agrippina is doing what no woman was supposed to do. She is ruling Rome without the title. But one problem remains. Claudius is still alive, and Britannicus is still a threat. And then, in the year 54 AD, Claudius dies suddenly. Officially, it's natural causes. Unofficially, let's just say Rome had its suspicions. Poisoned mushrooms, a quiet dinner, a convenient death. And Agrippina, she doesn't waste a second. Before anyone can react, before Britannicus can even breathe, Nero is declared emperor. He's only 16 years old, a teenager, and the empire belongs to him. But really, it belongs to her. Because in the beginning, Nero listens. Agrippina sits behind the curtain of power. She attends meetings, she advises decisions, she expects obedience. Rome finally has what it never admitted it could have, a woman controlling the empire. Agrippina had nearly done the impossible. She nearly ruled Rome. But here's the thing, power is addictive. And once you taste it, you don't like sharing it. And Nero, he starts to change. At first, he's the perfect son, the perfect puppet. But slowly, he wants to be emperor in his own right. And Agrippina, she refuses to step back. She reminds him constantly, "You are only here because of me." And Nero begins to resent her. Because imagine being emperor and still feeling like a child in your mother's shadow. Agrippina pushes too hard. She threatens, she manipulates, she even hints that she could replace him with Britannicus. That was her mistake. Because the moment Nero hears that, he realizes something chilling. As long as Agrippina lives, he will never truly rule. So first, Britannicus dies. Suddenly. Poison, most likely. Removed from the board. Then, Agrippina is isolated. Her guards are dismissed. Her allies vanish. Her influence collapses. And Nero begins planning the unthinkable. He decides his mother has to die. But killing Agrippina was not simple. This was the woman who outplayed emperors, so Nero tries something straight out of a thriller. He arranges a boat accident, a special collapsing boat designed to sink in the middle of the night. Agrippina boards it, the trap is set, the boat collapses, people drown, but Agrippina swims to shore, alive. Can you imagine Nero's face? At this point, Rome probably thought she was unkillable, so Nero panics. He sends soldiers to her villa. No more tricks, no more accidents, just murder. Agrippina faces them calmly, and according to legend, she says, "Strike here," pointing to her womb, the place that gave birth to Nero. And just like that, the woman who nearly ruled Rome is gone. And Nero, he finally has the throne to himself. But Rome never forgets what happened after, because Nero spirals into paranoia, into cruelty, into madness. It's almost like Agrippina wasn't just her mother, she was the last thing holding him together. And that's the tragedy of her story. Agrippina came closer than any woman before her to ruling Rome. She didn't do it with armies, she did it with intellect, with political mastery, with sheer will. She bent the empire around her. But Rome was never going to allow a woman to sit comfortably at the top. So history painted her as wicked, as ruthless, as unnatural. But maybe she was simply playing the only game Rome respected, the game of power. And she almost won. So next time someone tells you women had no influence in ancient Rome, just remember, an emperor once ruled the world and still couldn't escape his mother's shadow. Agrippina didn't just nearly rule Rome. For a moment, Rome belonged to her. And honestly, that might be the most dangerous kind of ruler of all. If you want more stories like this, where history gets messy, dramatic, and completely unbelievable, go ahead and subscribe, because Rome was never just marble statues and togas. It was ambition, blood, and the people who almost rewrote the world.